Ladies and gentlemen, in this RedGamingTed.com video, I'm going to be taking a look at the latest Steam deals at the August the 24th, in, of course, the autumn sale. So today's deals are a little bit better than yesterday. A few of them weren't that great, but today has some pretty good ones. I'm going to start in a random order. I think Mark of the Ninja. I did a video on this recently in RGT, so if you want more information, you should go ahead and check out that video. It's a very good stealth platform game, and to be honest with you, it handles stealth extremely well. In terms of the actual way the game is presented and cutscenes and so on, if you guys have played either Shank 1 or 2, you'll have an idea. And just like that game and say Trine, it looks very beautiful despite the fact that it's 2D. In my opinion, at least, it's well and truly worth the £6. In fact, it's a bit of a steal, and I think you should ninja your way to buying this one. I can't actually recommend this one enough. It's really good. It just plays well and has quite a lot to offer, to be honest with you. Next one is, let's go with Borderlands 2. I think many of you are going to have played this one now, or at least have an idea what it is. It is, of course, a sequel to the very successful original Borderlands, and despite a few people being naysayers, on average, it's a very good game. To be honest with you, it's well worth the money considering it's recently released. It's 50% off or $14.99. It's also worth noting that you can also pick up all of the DLC. Although, as far as I'm seeing, perhaps I'm just being blind, but it doesn't look like the DLC is on offer, which is a bit of a shame, actually. You can also pick up a 4-pack, so that would be basically all of 4 copies of the game, of course, and that would be 50% off or $44.99. This could be a really good Christmas present to several people. It's also worth noting that the game is forever expanding, and there seems to be a new patch every so often. One of my friends, Spoonie Kipper, who also puts out videos on the channel, absolutely is in love with this game, and it's an RPG affair with first-person shooter elements, of course. And once again, there is a video of it available on the channel if you've somehow managed to miss out completely on it. Speaking of videos that are on the channel, F1 2012. Formula 1 is not really my deal, and to be honest with you, I already suck at racing games anyway. But this one is fairly reasonable in that it actually allows you to turn on a certain amount of driver assists, is basically what it comes down to. Which, for people who can just about manage to turn left and right in a straight line, that's pretty good. It's probably not going to persuade you if you've never ever been interested in this type of title before. However, it does look fairly reasonable in terms of, attractiveness. It's not exactly my cup of tea, and to be honest with you, I personally wouldn't want to play it, but that's just down to my personal preference, not being really a fan of racing games. You can also pick up a 2-pack of this, which is $26.99, perfect for you and a buddy who wants to take to the track. So, that's pretty good. The game runs pretty well on PC, and it's quite customizable. I have a feeling that this one would be best suited for if you happen to have, say, a wheel. Generally speaking, if you happen to have a steering wheel and all of the goodies, it's going to be a lot better. As I've said, however, you can turn on various levels of driver assist and so on, and that does help quite substantially, really. So, yeah. Next up is Deus Ex, also known as Human Revolution. Human Revolution is, of course, a sequel to the older Deus Ex games, and despite people fearing that it was going to be a letdown, it actually wasn't. It was actually a really good game. It has 1 or 2 small bugs, in honesty. The biggest one, well, not bugs, but 1 or 2 small faults. One of them is that, despite the fact that it actually says you can play any way you want, and while that is technically true, it somewhat penalizes you because if you make certain decisions, you get less upgrade points. And so if you want to max out Adam Jensen as much as possible, you're going to really want to go with the non-lethal approach more often than not. Killing gives you a lot less. I don't have a particular problem, per se, with having to go one route in one respect, but it also means that you kind of grit your teeth because you don't want to make any errors or any mistakes, and you want to be as non-lethal as possible. And I don't know, I think I just wanted to be able to just play the game however I darn well pleased. Anyway, it's a really good price. It's 75% off, or £3.74. Or if you want the augmented edition, it will cost you another £2 on top of that, which of course would be £5.74. You can also pick up the collection should you so desire, and it's also worth noting that all of the DLC is also available, including the Missing Link, which is actually a really good piece of DLC, and I would actually encourage you to pick that one up if you're either a owner currently of Deus Ex, or you're just buying the game now. It adds quite a lot to the game, in my opinion at least. I don't necessarily know if I'd agree with the rest of the DLC, but there you go. Next up are the two games I've not actually played, which is kind of surprising actually. The first one would be Total War Shogun. Total War is a very famous gaming franchise, and I'm actually kind of amazed I've somehow managed to live under a rock. It's one of Sega's more popular franchises. Goodness knows they need them at the moment. You can also pick up the entire collection, which includes a ridiculous amount of DLC, and I do mean absolutely astoundingly ridiculous. That would cost you £10. You can also pick up the Total War collection, which includes loads of other ones. I'm not even bothered to list them all. You can also pick up all the DLC as well. I can tell you this game is extremely critically acclaimed. Personally, I haven't played it, but I do know quite a few people who have, and I've also known quite a few opinions of people from reading forums and so on, and I would recommend checking this one out if you're into strategy. It's not the greatest reduction in price, although it has been holding its value for quite a while now, and I believe that last Christmas sale it was around the same price, £66, so it could well be worth checking out. Next up is Chivalry, Modern Medieval Warfare, shall I say. This one looks pretty good. I haven't actually checked it out personally. It's an action indie title. You can actually pick this one up for 50% off, $9.49. I could have sworn I saw that cheaper just a few minutes ago. Maybe I'm just being absolutely insane. Anyway, it's minus 50% off if you want a 4-pack as well, which, well, obviously you get 4 of them. Metacritic and other sites rate it fairly reasonably, of course. The problem is with reviews. Who the hell knows whether you'll like it when you actually come down to it. Next up is flash deals. There are a few of them available. Obviously, a couple of them are going to be probably ended by the time you guys actually get to watch the video. First one is Call of Duty Black Ops 1. It's $19.99. It's only 50% off. I'm actually surprised with how small the reduction is, and by small I mean, come on now. The sequel has just been released. It's not necessarily a bad purchase. It's just with the second one, I think most people are going to be abandoning ship as and when they can. I have actually been really addicted recently to the zombie modes of Call of Duty Black Ops 2, and I'm not 100% sure if that's a new addition. Just completely and utterly skipped over Black Ops 1. Whether you really want it or not is down to you. Personally, I'd say to avoid it and just save up the extra few bucks if you can and get Black Ops 2. Next one I have definitely played, Carrier Command. I actually have an RGT video on this one. It's pretty cool. The game does suffer from a few faults. The fact of the matter is the engine was basically trying to do it a lot, and it basically is a combination of FPS, RTS, and goodness knows what else. For the most part, it does it fairly well. Metacritic actually scores this one fairly low, and I think the reason for it is basically, at least as far as I understand it, you can't skip, for example, when your ships are moving in various locations. Perhaps that's changed since I played it. It's not a terrible game. The graphics look reasonable. Whether you want to pay $15.99 for this one is up to you. Personally, I'd probably recommend to avoid it. In honesty, I don't think it's really worth the extra cash. Maybe if it went down to like 5, I'd consider it. Other than that, I'd probably say it's not really worth your money. Next up, Dawn of War 2. Dawn of War is, of course, a Warhammer title, and like a lot of Warhammer titles, it is steeped with those who are going to either love it or not really interested in it at all, to be honest. It scores really well on Metacritic. I haven't personally played it, although one of my friends is massively into this game, and it actually got him into Dawn of War. Whether you want to pick this one up is up to you. It's really cheap at the moment. It's only $4.99, so it could well be worth it. You could also pick up the complete pack, which is only £2.50 extra. What that is in dollars, I'm unsure, but it's not bad at all. Whether you want to pick it up is up to you. I would recommend it if you are into your FPS titles. Next up is The Fallen Enchantress. This title I actually didn't cover on RGT, although I did install it and play it a little bit on my own volition. It was actually one of those titles I was going to play, and I was going to do a first impressions of, but it completely and utterly did not lend itself to a first impressions type of title. It's one of those titles where it's going to take you a long time to understand just how everything works with the various heroes and abilities. It's basically a strategy RPG. I didn't play it a huge amount. I have a feeling it could be one of those titles where if you're into more the Dragon Age type of games, you probably won't really be into this at all. On the other hand, if you're more into the traditional, slower pace, strategy based RPGs, you'll probably want to give this one a whirl. It's £12.49. It scores fairly well with most people. As I've said, it's not a fast paced game, so whether you want to do this one or not, pick this one up or not, is down to you, of course. What else have we got? Hotline Miami. I never actually played this title. Actually, I lie. I did play this a little bit, actually. I didn't cover it for RGT. It's actually, maybe Amata did. I'm fairly certain Amata did, actually. Anyway, it's an interesting title. I played a little bit of it, and it's definitely one of those really odd type of games. It really, you really have to see it in action to understand what I mean by that. It's a fairly cheap. It's a fairly cheap price, £9. Sorry, £3.49. For some reason, I've completely lost track of my thoughts. I would recommend checking this one out. It has a certain sense of style and humour that you might not want to watch, so I'd at least recommend looking at a trailer or something before you part with your cash. It's also a fairly bloody game, but I imagine that wouldn't really, bother any of you guys. It's also a fairly recent release. It's only about a month or so old, so 50% off. It's not a bad price at all. As I said, it has a certain graphical style and gameplay style that is all to itself. It may not be to everyone's cup of tea, but it's a fairly good game. Next one, and the final one for the flash sales, would be Mass Effect 2. I don't think there's much to really say about Mass Effect 2 that hasn't been said a trillion times before. It's a fairly good price, 70% off, or £4.49. You can also pick up the collection, which would basically be Mass Effect 1 and the digital deluxe edition of Mass Effect 2. In my opinion, Mass Effect 1 and 2 did a few things better than Mass Effect 3 did. I've been vocal before that I wasn't a particularly big fan of the multiplayer aspect of Mass Effect 3. This is down to a number of reasons that I'll probably get into in another video, but the main one being that, I just don't want another Shepard around. I just want to be the only Shepard. I want to be saving the galaxy by myself. And I didn't sign up to the game storyline as multiplayer. Now I know before anyone jumps on me that it was an optional component, blah blah blah. But you know what? No matter what anyone tells me, I feel that ruined or took away some of the development time for Mass Effect 3 single player. Regardless of which, I will stop blabbering the point, and I will say that Mass Effect 1 and 2 are both excellent games, as well as 3 actually. I'm not going to tell you guys that it sucks or anything, it's still a really good game. And I would highly recommend picking up if you've somehow managed to miss out on the Mass Effect boat. I think many of you would have probably picked this one up already as is, but still, if you happen to have somehow missed it, there you go. I of course already covered yesterday's deals, which of course includes Skyrim, War of the Roses, Saints Row the Third, Transformers, Farming Simulator 2013, and finally Crysis 2 in yesterday's video, so I would encourage you to watch that rather than me repeating myself over again. And I will hopefully see you guys around soon for the next video, which of course will be another set of awesome deals from the Steam sale. So take care of yourselves, bye for now, and hopefully you've found it somewhat helpful.